Okay, so thank you for joining me tonight for segment 4 of Domestic Violence 101. We are going to talk about the batterer, and there's some ways that we can spot a batterer. And this person may lie, maybe bossy, maybe greedy, stubborn, impatient, conceited, unfaithful, someone that may know it all. Um, Inconsiderate, criticizes you. So these are things maybe in the very beginning that you can notice before you actually maybe get into a relationship or have just started one. I think the parts that stand out to me when you read this is, if the person makes you scared at any point, then that would be a real red flag to me. I mean, we probably know people that are maybe bossy and impatient and inconsiderate at times, and someone that may even be a know it all. But I think what you need to look at is whether this person makes you scared. And sometimes we can take jealousy as something, we can take it in a different way, not looking at it as a red flag, but maybe that this person really loves you or is possessive about you. Like you're the only person for me, and I'm the only person for you, and become really possessive about it. But that's not signs of love. That's actually signs of can be of abuse. And then I think once you get into a little bit more of the relationship, maybe you would start to see maybe this person has maybe breaks things or strikes things, objects, and so that would really again that goes back to making you scared, and that wouldn't be has no place in a relationship. And wish that a lot of people would know this information maybe, and then they may not get into a relationship like this. So hopefully this is something that we will be able to educate the parish on. And this person also would be sometimes insensitive to the way you feel and always has to have their way and always has to make decisions. So we start putting like little pieces of the puzzle together to kind of understand what this person may look like. And sometimes they have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality. So on the outside, they're fine, but then on when they're with you alone, then that person may show more of these signs. And so the big thing here is to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together. So if you go to the North Carolina um, against domestic violence.org site, you will find more information about the red flags. So some of the things you might want to be asking yourself at this point is this person impulsive? Does he make you feel uncomfortable in any way? Is he persistent and insistent after you say no? Does he watch other women while he's with you? And does he make negative or sexist marks about women? And does he blame you for all his problems? So, this is like in the very beginning what you could be asking yourself. So, who are the abusers? Well, like we said before, abusers don't always have to be males. They can be females as well, but for the sake of the training, we are going to refer to them as male. So these men um, who batter wives, they come from all socioeconomic status, occupations, races, religions. One study indicates that income, job classification, and educational levels are not good indicators of whether a person will be a victim or be the perpetrator. So basically, here they say it's a learned behavior. It says approximately half of all men who choose to use violence resolve conflict, establish dominancy and control. Others were exposed to violence in their homes. So basically, there is another half that doesn't do this, but even though they grew up in a home like this. So it doesn't really indicate, but they can be somebody that is very anxious. And of course, I do know now that anxiety is goes along with depression. So it can also be part of the actual puzzle too. One piece of the another piece of the puzzle. It's important to remember that the use or avoidance of violence is an individual choice that these men make, and while half of these men choose to be abusive, the other half exposed to the same violence did not choose to be that way. Battering is seen as an intentional act used to gain power and control over another person. And power and control are the central to the is central to the entire system. Okay. So some of the feelings that the batterer may feel is that fear of being exposed, and so that's why when women choose to leave, that's like their chances of being killed go up, like I think all the way up to 75%. That's why it's such an important um, part that needs to be expressed to women who do choose to leave, and that's plays into the fact that why they stay, that they may not necessarily know that statistic, but that we know that, and that's why there's other reasons why they stay, but that their chances of being hurt go up tremendously. So it's definitely got to be something that they've had enough with and they are ready to do. And it says that the batterer may feel guilty about not treating his partner or family with kindness, not controlling his temper, and the embarrassment that comes along with it as well. And you can go to the domesticshelters.org to see more about the abuser profile. And there is a little video there I can show you um, when we're at the break. Okay, signs of domestic violence. So these are behaviors that will be seen by the woman. So if you were interacting with the woman that's been battered, these are some of the behaviors you might witness, which would be apprehension and anxiety, irritability and restlessness, withdrawn and also inappropriate responses and immaturity and confusion and disorientation. The behaviors of the batterer might be overprotected, attempting to answer all the questions directed towards his wife or the mother in case if there's actually children involved, acting extremely jealous, displaying lack of concern or over concern for the for his partner, being reluctant to allow the woman to be interviewed in private, canceling or rescheduling her appointments, and attempting to make eye contact with the mother at all times so that she doesn't give away any information that may make you suspicious. And again, we're going to go over a little bit more of the profile and says not all men who batter display all those characteristics that are listed. So, for example, batterers are extremely good providers. Some have been brought up in nonviolent homes. Some are not well liked and have very few friends, or a few are mentally ill, like we discussed. But most men who batter will display 10 or more of these common characteristics. And we are going to go over a little bit more of that. Okay, so red flags to look for an abusive personality. So these are some of the ones we were talking about before that you may see in the beginning. And this might be like your way to say, I'm out of here. Many women are interested in ways to spot and a potential abuser, especially once they've been involved in an abusive relationship. Um, Below are a list of behaviors seen by the abuser. The last four signs listed are abusive behaviors that are often overlooked as being a more physical abuse. If a person displays several of the other behaviors, say three or more, there is a strong potential for the physical violence. So we go back to that beginning is like a controlling behavior. And I'm sure we know different people that might have controlling behavior, extremely jealous, like we talked about, and quick involvement, unrealistic expectations. And then by this time, maybe blames others for their problems and blames others for their feelings and maybe hypersensitive, may have, then maybe you'll start to see the person may isolate you and then have verbal abuse and then have a mean personality, rigid sex roles, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality, like we said, some cruelty to animals. So that would like to me is all the beginning part of it. Anything after that would definitely be major red flags. So playful use of force during sex or verbal abuse, um, previous abusive relationships, threats of violence, or breaking or striking objects or any force during an argument. So you can go to the obhotline.org awareness and domestic violence website here, and they will discuss more about these different personality characteristics. Okay, so this one um, part here talks about how the batterer, there's like three categories to put the batterer in. So whether you know if this person, say that we are actually helping, is in like immediate danger. Okay. So category one is if the batterer is a category one, then that's the least dangerous. And choices for the victim would be a safety plan may not be needed. Individual counseling, we never recommend marriage counseling. Okay. It's still after there is no abuse that you can recommend marriage counseling or enrichment. So we always do recommend individual counseling. And then after that, um, the batterer, on the other hand, if the person is very remorseful, and motivated by change, then the better may be fine with individual counseling. And then both couples get the individual counseling and then they have marriage counseling. Okay. So it really comes down to whether the batterer is remorseful. Okay. And has no really previous um, th- abusive relationships. Okay. And you may not know that. And it's going to be hard, but the person may not even tell you that, so they may say no anyway, and they did. Now, for a category two, this is sporadic violence. So yeah, the category one was just like one episode. Okay. So sporadic violence, choices for the victim are safety planning, physical separation, frequent view of the safety plan, individual counseling, and support groups. Suggestions for the batterer would be individual counseling, support groups, and a mandated, usually court mandated, uh, batterer program, which is 6 to 12 weeks of treatment. Checkups on behavior every 6 months. And basically, this person would probably be, victim would probably need to see some change in order to really go back with the person. Okay, and then often doesn't see any change, then he may not be responding to the treatment. So reconciliation would be based on the behavior, and if he does not complete the treatment or commits another act of violence, then and puts any one of his family members or her into uh, a bad situation again, then they may want to terminate the relationship. Now, a category three is the most dangerous. That is a chronic violence all the time and has many previous, like maybe all of their relationships have been violent. Choices for the victim would be a safety plan, physical separation, a protective order. Maybe she even has to go to a shelter, frequent view of her safety plan, individual counseling, and support. And it says that I don't know why that's not here, but I mean, it doesn't, the batterer, there is no hope for the batterer at this point. Okay. So that one, he would need court ordered, um, batterer program, counseling, monitoring. I mean, everything. Okay. That they could find for him and still, doesn't recommend they go back together. Okay. All right. So the other part here is assessing whether the batterer will kill. So, here we are. We discussed the category 3. And so, how are you going to determine this when you're in the relationship already? If the person threatens homicide or suicide, fantasizes about homicide and suicide, depression, has weapons in the home, obsessiveness about partner and family, rages, drug and alcohol consumption regularly, and pet abuse. And so you can go to the womanslaw.org to also see a danger assessment and to learn more. So I had said this before. It says, why do women stay in abusive relationships? Well, for one, they love the person. For two, fear. Okay. He probably threatened her by now and has said, if you leave me, I'm going to take your life or the children or something or on my own. Um, the children, they stay because of that. A big thing normally is that the economics. They don't have any way to make a living on their own. So they are dependent on this person like maybe 100%. Okay? Feeling guilty or shame that they had either caused this to happen or embarrassment. Of course, there's such a stigma to attached to it when we know that like what 30% of all of the world goes through this. um Religion is sometimes the misquoting the Bible, and the Batterer, as we'll get into later on, has misquoted the Bible maybe, and that's why she stays. Denial, low self esteem, and a commitment to the marriage and relationship. And I want to tell you, the low self esteem is really, and depression is really, it's hard. I mean, when you deal with somebody that's been in these situations for a long time, they don't know how to like even maybe take 2 or 3 steps in order, and that's why we have the safety plan, because they can't even think that sometimes that complex on what they need to do. So it's very challenging for them. Okay, so if she gets up enough courage to leave, what can she expect from the partner? Well, the partner may attempt to locate her, may apologize, and may apologize numerous times, but it doesn't do any good. Maybe more threats and intimidation, use of the children, counseling and religious approaches to kind of get the the victim back. So all these things may play a part, and more threats too. So okay, so if you want to find out more about that, you can go to the psychcentral.com to find out more about that. And it says how to stop going back to an abusive relationship. And also, there's a helpguide.org where it also talks about getting out of an abusive relationship. Okay. And here's another video I have here. This one's about, you may even know Ray Rice. He was a football player, and his girlfriend at the time was Janae Palmer. And I'll show you this at the break where they are in an elevator, and an elevator catches him slugging her, and she falls to the ground, and she's actually knocked out cold. And she goes back to him. Okay. And so, the thing I like about the video is it just brings attention. Like they're showing this on some sports station, and it kind of just brings attention. Like it actually gets men aggravated about it, which I think is great that we finally get some type of, that's the only thing that sometimes that's what it takes. It takes for, somebody in the sports area, or an actor or an actress or something like that, to bring attention to what has been going on for a long time and nobody's done anything about. So here's some myths related to an abusive woman. It says that abused women can always leave their home. Okay, and we just discussed why they can't. Abused women are crazy. Okay, they may be depressed, but they're not crazy. Um, Police can protect an abused woman. No, unfortunately, they can get a protective order, but it does not guarantee. There is no guarantee. That's why it's so important that they know what the risk is if they choose to leave. Children need their father even in a violent home. Okay, that's probably why one of the reasons they choose to stay. And or I'm staying for the sake of the children, which I don't know if that's really a myth. I mean, I think sometimes they do stay because of that. So anyway, I'm going to stop now for the moment.